This is Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. We enthuse, we energize, we inspire, and we empower entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs of all stripes in BW and beyond. Dumela, hello and welcome, dear viewer, dear listener. It's a pleasure. Always great to meet you, and I'm so happy that I'm meeting you digitally once again to bring you another powerful episode of Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. We're going to talk about horticultural farming. So I'm so delighted to welcome to the studio Mr.
Issac Kasonde.
Isaac?
Kasonde.
Okay. Take it from there, Mr. Kasonde, and share a little bit of history. But before you start, can I just remind the viewer to hit the notification bell as well as the subscription button, because we need that for our own survival. We need that. We need you guys. I found out that only 2/3 of you have actually subscribed. Even regular viewers, YouTube tracks you guys, and it tells me that a majority of you, 2/3 in fact, are not subscribing. Please subscribe. We need it. I need for you to subscribe. It makes a difference to the algorithms, and it certainly makes us available for you and keeps the lights on. Thank you so much. Just press the subscribe button. Welcome to the studio, sir.
Thank you very much for having me.
Mr. Kasonde.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Isaac.
Yes.
All right. Just share your background in terms of your education and your training.
All right. My name is Issac Kasonde. My education, I've went to school in Botswana all my life. For primary, I went to Believers Destiny Academy. For high school, I went to Westwood International School. And from there, that's the end of my schooling. And I basically started farming in 2018 after I left school.
You never went to VAS?
I never went to varsity, Yes.
Why did you decide not to go to university?
I think first and foremost, I was horrible at school. I was really horrible. I wasn't the most desirable student.
Yeah.
But also, in my years at school, I wanted to be a vet initially. And then once I discovered what's actually involved in being a vet, I saw that it wasn't possible on my end in terms of school. And I pursued farming after that.
Because you had to be good in what? The sciences?
Yeah, sciences, maths, everything difficult.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then you just decided. How do your parents respond when you decided not to go further?
My parents, I think they kind of had a hint a little bit. They were like, this one, I don't think so very much. But they were very supportive because after I left school, basically what they did was they basically asked me what my plan was, and I decided that I'll go straight into farming. And they said give them a business proposal. I gave them a business proposal. They were very happy with it, and we proceeded. Yes.
And that's now farming. How did you develop interest in farming?
Okay, back home, because my dad's Zambian.
And specifically horticulture.
My dad's Zambian, my mom is Kenyan. So we come from very big farming backgrounds. My dad they did more cattle and animals. My mom, on the other hand, they did a lot of horticulture growing up. That's actually what took her to school, afforded them the lives that they lived and all that. So I've always been interested in farming, and that was where I wanted to be a vet because I really love animals. Animals are, I think, my first passion. I love animals with a passion. So it was just a thing of once one door closed, another one opened. So I went into farming full time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 2018, you just threw yourself into the deep end.
Once.
What were the unique challenges?
I would say first and foremost, it was understanding that farming is not a get-rich-quick scheme. So once you get into it, you develop a lot of patience because everything has to grow. And I think understanding and processing the information, because You have to create a unique setup for your farm. So you have to understand your conditions, what you have available, and then now put a plan in place or a recipe in place to give you your desired outcome. So definitely the information, understanding that there's a plant and it's your baby and you have to take care of it, was definitely a roller coaster, but we made it. Yeah.
What was in this business plan that really turned your parents on? What was in the business plan? What was the basic approach to it?
I think because even for them, they were a little bit surprised that I went with farming. I think it was the whole thing of learning to actually grow something and to scale it after that. So for them, I think they saw the potential in farming. Also that they are farmers, they come from farming backgrounds. They saw the potential and they were really impressed with how I put it together and all that.
What was the plan exactly?
So the plan was to get a net shade, which I did, and a reservoir, and to put in drip irrigation, which I did. Everything after that, I used the local company, Green Technologies, and that was the plan. And 2018, we also happened to get the vegetable ban. So around then also, a lot of stuff was being imported from South Africa. So I also saw the gap that if they were to close borders, there's a chance now for us to go into farming full time and not have any issues.
Okay. Yeah. Often we talk about crop diversity and the need to have a little bit of diversification and so on in terms of crop. What is your approach in that regard?
Usually with my approach, it usually goes with the seasons. So during the summer season, I prefer to do certain crops. Going into winter, you change into other crops.
What crops are those? Let's open up.
So usually during winter, I know that you can do cabbage. I've also done chili in the past. It's done very well for me.
Cabbage and chili.
And also beetroot also does very well in winter. Also carrots. And then for the summertime crops, you have your tomatoes, your peppers, your lettuce, and all of your leafy greens.
Okay. Does it take a lot of reading? Because I would imagine there's a certain amount of mentorship and reading and so on. Tell us about your story in that regard, to become good at the craft and to learn all you can learn.
Yeah, so in the beginning when I started off with a lot of consultants. So I used consultants in the beginning, but I don't think I'll ever do that again.
What kind of consultants?
Agriculture consultants. Yeah. So when I
like
started,
people with PhDs and degrees.
Yeah, people with PhDs and degrees. But you get to notice very quick, on paper they're very good, the theoretical part, but when it now comes to the actual work, well, I didn't find any that were good in terms of the actual work that had to be done on the farm. Because they kept on trying to give me things from the internet. And basically just give you that and work your way around it. But slowly but surely you have to understand that you develop basically a recipe for your farm so that you can get your desired outcome. Yeah. So
did you have in fact a particular farmer that you looked up to in terms of a role model, or it was just your parents?
I do. His name is Mr. Willie Kathrima. Yes. He
up in is it Kalahadi, where his farm is?
Yes. Yeah, he has one up in Kalahadi.
He started I know him well. He started off in fact he still is a property estate agent.
Yes, he is. Yeah, you know, he's my mentor and all of this, because he was doing cattle. Now he's moved into strawberries and grain.
Same time?
No. He was doing cattle. He still has some cattle right now. But I know mainly he's into strawberry production and grain.
He's no longer 100% into cattle.
Yeah, he's not. He's not into it too much nowadays. He's now into grain. He's now into grain and strawberry production. Yeah.
To sell overseas?
No, he sells here. Here in Botswana. He's the one who locally, I'm sure if you check your maize and your strawberries, I think he's called Ramapate Farms.
Ramapati.
Yeah, he does strawberries and he also does maize in large quantities. Yes.
Okay, how did you meet him and how did he become your mentor?
I met him because we were actually family friends. So from a young age,
Because your mom is from Kenya.
Yes, they're like, what you call it, they're from the same place back home. So from a young age, my mom always used to tell me, this is a very big farmer, you must see what he's doing. And I always got going to his farms also.
Like during the holidays?
Yeah, gave me a lot of inspiration. Also, his kids are also doing that at the moment. I'm not sure about all of them, but I know his 2 sons, they are into it also, so that's really good. Yeah.
So you decided to follow
Yes, I did.
his example.
Yes, I did.
All right, so penetrating the market access. Tell me about that, because I've met a few farmers complain about that.
Yeah, I think that comes down to now your relationships and how you want to play your cards business-wise. Because at the end of the day, everything is a relationship. So with farming, what it takes is quantity and quality. You have to meet them at the same level. So once you want to make that relationship, you need to make sure that your quantity is there. You'll be consistent with delivering. And on top of that, you should be able to, at a moment's notice, if you don't have enough, make a way so that you can keep your client happy. Because there's not too many contracts that go around. There of course some guys that do have contracts, but since also because they're also in business at the end of the day, and they can't just rely on your word, so you really have to show up. Yes.
Now, supermarkets, how responsive are they to local farmers?
Very, very responsive. If your quality is right and you have the quantities that they need, you will have no problem speaking to these guys. In fact, even it changes from you constantly calling them to them constantly calling you, because once they are guaranteed of your product and they can trust that you will deliver consistently, they have no problem giving you the stage to do what you need to do.
I've heard it said that sometimes there's, I don't know whether it's price gouging or whatever, because there are so many farmers, they dictate the price. Is that true? That they sometimes dictate the price?
Yeah, it is true.
To the detriment of the farmer?
I would say yes and no, because what happens is once you go into the supermarket, you do ask them, what are you missing? And if 100 farmers go into the shop that day and they all say onions, all farmers are going to rush to plant onions. And what happens is now you have an oversupply of onions, so that means the price has to come down. And now everyone's done onions, they've forgotten about, for example, tomatoes. So now the price is just skyrocketing. So it's just a thing of like, you need to really take your time, find a pattern throughout the whole year where what you will be producing is in demand. And that will come about through time and experience. Definitely. It's not one thing you can go in, unless the other option is you do one crop full time and in quantity. So if you do that, that might ease you a little bit, but it's not really the most advisable.
You've been running your farm now 6 years.
Yes.
What would you say the sustainable practices that you live by, things that are really, as it were, predictors of your success in terms of reliable, sustainable practices?
I think for me the most important one will probably be record keeping, because when it comes to farming, you have to record, for example, your weather, how much water you're putting in, the kind of nutrients you want to put into into the soil, the time that you will be selling, and just all those things incorporated into one. So I think in the whole thing, you should just be able to keep your records, because if you go back last year and you say, no, during this time this is what I was doing and this was my outcome, so how can I improve this and take it to the next level, or how can I mitigate these problems that I faced last year this time? Yeah.
And there are farmers who, for the longest time, we've been told that Botswana are just into subsistence farming. And that's the way it's been, that as long as you are feeding your family and doing the minimum. How do you get away from that trap? Subsistence trap. I think it's more or less on the individual and how the individual would like to conduct the way they want to run their farm. If you decide you want to only feed your family, that's okay. I've decided I want to feed the nation, so that's what I'm going to. Give us an idea of the size of the farm and the type of output you have in terms of quantities.
I have a 10-hectare farm, and then I farm on about 3 hectares of the place. So I have a net shade, and during the rainy season, which was end of last year, mainly from the end of the years usually, I do outfield. So outfield,
what does that mean?
Outfield meaning not under the net, so that means just open field. Yeah, so during that time I'll do watermelon, I'll do sorghum, I'll do beans. Yeah.
And how responsive is Botswana soil to those things?
I would say Botswana's soil is very good, because at the end of the day there is something called soil health. So just like an athlete, if you want to compete at the highest level, you need to make sure, for example, you're going to gym, you're eating right, and you're keeping the right company in terms of the field that you're in. Same thing with your soil. Your soil also needs the right nutrients, it needs the right amount of water, and also it needs someone very delicate. Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
By that, it means someone who is able to understand that you need certain nutrients for you to get your desired outcome. So you need to be very particular about what you're adding and how you'll be administrating that nutrient. Yeah.
Do you physically live within the farm?
No, I don't. I don't
Okay.
live within the farm.
You have a farm manager there?
I do have a farm manager.
Okay. But you spend a lot of time there?
Yes, I do spend a lot of time
In overalls?
Yes, in overalls.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you say to some of your colleagues who say it's not so desirable to be farming and it's not something for them? They'd rather be in the office. You should be looking for a job in an office.
I would say for them, I want them probably to start small, and you can start in your backyard, and that's the best way to start. So basically understanding the soil, understanding the crop that you'd want to do, and just seeing if it's for you. And the good thing about farming is I think that there's something in there for everyone. So because it's so broad, you have the grain guys, so the guys who do the maize, the sorghum. You also have the guys in fresh vegetables, so your cucumbers, your lettuce. You have florists. You have the guys who basically do your flowers. So there's something for everyone. Literally, you just have to find what it is for you. If you're not into plants, there's also animals. There's a wide variety of animals you can get into. You just have to find what works for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, do you have such a thing as a farmers association? And is there a grouping where you get together to protect your interests in any way?
I would say there are some around. I'm not part of any. I myself personally, I just have a small network of guys my age that we do share ideas with and help each other out. So it's not like official. What we just have is the WhatsApp group, and we just share our ideas, how we can improve our yield, how we can prevent against pests and diseases, the types of markets we can go into, so on and so forth.
What about funding? What is the attitude of banks to funding, and how do you deal with that?
When it comes to funding, it's a tricky one, because I think, at the end of the day, banks, first and foremost, they need to get their money back and for you to make a profit also.
Yes.
So in the whole thing, it's a little bit tricky, but government has put into place programs that are specifically for farmers, because you can approach banks like these mainstream banks. They do have programs, but I haven't seen anything in horticulture as yet. I know they're big with livestock, so I know, but when it comes to horticulture, fresh vegetables, the so on and so forth, government has put in a lot of...
What are these programs and which ones did you take advantage of?
I'm yet to take advantage of them. Yeah, I just applied for my citizenship and everything went well. So once, soon as everything goes through, I shall be applying for them. I think it's called the Temo Letemo program.
Temo Letlotlo?
Yeah,
or something.
Yeah, something like that. So basically what happens is they'll come to your farm, they'll see your setup, and they can offer you basically a net shade, a borehole, kraals, fencing, whatever you would need so that you can start the process.
Yeah. So you want to stick to just crop farming? You have no desire to get into livestock?
I do have a big desire to get into livestock.
Tell me about that.
At the moment, I do have cattle, I do have some pigs, I do have some goats, and I have chickens. I do supply...
Just a small number?
Just a small number, yes. Just all of them under 50. So I do supply... The one I do mainly supply is pork. That one... A lot of bars around. Guys love pork meat also. So yeah, or you can take it to Send Foods.
So you sell direct to the butchers?
Yeah, I sell directly either to the butchers or you can go to Send Foods. Yeah.
Wow. You want to say something about technology adoption in this day of AI? What technology is available for farmers, and how are you tapping into it?
I think when it comes to the technology involved in farming, it's limitless and endless. It just depends on you. So basically, you have monitoring systems that will monitor your soil. So that being included, it will monitor your fertility rates. It will monitor how much water is needed. If you're being currently...
What is that? What exactly is that? Is that something connected to a computer?
Yeah, basically. So basically, okay, the one I can describe is it goes into the ground.
What does?
The monitoring system. It's like a pole. So it just goes straight into the ground. And then you'll be able to access everything off your phone and your laptop. So this basically, it transfers information from your soil to your, to your phone or to your laptop. So there's that. Guys are also now using drones to fertilize, to monitor their cattle.
Guys or you?
Guys, not me.
Yeah. So what are you using?
At the moment, I'm not using anything because where I am, we have a problem of electricity.
Oh, okay.
Electricity hasn't reached our side yet. So I run everything off my generator. Yeah.
Does that prove to be expensive? Because I was going to ask you whether it is what you're doing is more capital intensive than labor intensive, or is it a bit of both?
Both, definitely. Definitely capital and labor intensive. Because on the capital side, when it comes to paying your workers, you need to pay your workers, you need to have utilities. So of course,
how many do you have?
I have 4 workers at the moment, full-time workers, and then depending on the season, if I need help harvesting, I'll get seasonal workers from within my area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you manage to find water, a borehole?
Yes, I do have a borehole, but very soon, and not even very soon, even like tomorrow, I need to drill another one because with my constant increasing number of my animals, plus also the net shade and all that, it's slowly decreasing. So I do need to drill another one and plant some more. Hopefully
you've had a diviner come in to check.
Yes, I did.
Because that's what we had to do when I was doing mine.
Yes.
I had, I think, three diviners. No, 2 diviners and 1 geologist.
Geologist,
And it turned out that two of them, a geologist and a diviner, were in agreement about a particular spot. But then came another diviner who picked another spot. And then when it became confusing, I asked for the fourth person. And then they picked this spot that was picked by the second diviner. And that's where I decided, no, let's go for this one.
Did you use the traditional method or did you use
I used both.
Both,
the traditional and the modern.
How many cubic did you get?
5.
5. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah,
that's beautiful. That's really beautiful.
I'm very happy with the output there.
Yeah.
So it worked out nicely.
Okay.
So yours, how was your experience? Because some people have been known to hit blanks.
Yeah. I haven't hit blank myself at this place, but I have hit blanks in other. I have seen blanks in other places. So when we drilled our borehole, we managed to get, I think it's 2 cubic of water. So not much, but does the job.
Okay.
Yeah.
Community impact.
Yeah.
To what extent is your job impacting the community positively or negatively?
I think it's definitely positively encouraging our community, because when it comes to my labor force, especially in my area, I try to look for guys within my area and teach them. Essentially, because usually, especially when it comes to the seasonal guys, you want someone, especially when it comes to harvesting, you want someone who pays attention to detail and doesn't destroy the crop in the process or the equipment around. For example, like the drips. If you're harvesting cabbage, you need to use a machete. So you don't want someone cutting your drips and doing all those things. So you just need to make sure that you teach them well, and because for the next season you want to use them again and again and again, because it's really it's a generational thing. You're gonna grow up with them. It's just like that. Them, their kids, the whole thing. Yeah.
Speaking of community impact, how were you impacted by COVID, either positive or negative?
Oh, COVID was a great time for me.
It was a great time.
Great time because there was shortage of vegetables, and I had vegetables. So I managed to supply, and it was honestly, it was a
you
bad
smile
thing.
when you think of COVID.
Yeah, I smile.
Most
it was
people
a bad
think
thing.
of how terrible things were.
Yeah, no, it was a bad thing, of course. But as a farmer, for me and what I did at the time, I was happy with what I was able to do.
So how did your output quadruple or triple or whatever?
I would say I
10x.
couldn't keep up with
the demand.
Yeah, with the demand during COVID. I couldn't keep up at all. And the crazy thing is, plants need about 3 months to grow. So I was just praying overnight that I would get something more. So yeah.
And it turned out to be.
Yeah, it turned out to
and
be.
And you
very
sell
good.
directly to the supermarkets?
Yeah, I sell directly to supermarkets, vendors, restaurants, whoever who needs me. I'm your guy.
This is interesting, eh?
Yeah.
Now, when will farmers become sexy again? Why am I saying this? I mean, we know that farmers have fed us all these years, but am I right in saying there's a little bit of looking down upon farmers? There's a little bit of a stigma of sorts.
Yeah, there is a little bit.
Yeah.
Because, of course, the job is very labor intensive, first and foremost. And you really have to get your hands dirty. But I think, it's a really beautiful thing watching a plant from seed till harvest, and knowing that you provided the plant with the best possible conditions and nutrients so that you can reach your desired outcome. And for me, yeah, there might be a little bit of stigma on it, but the beauty of growing something until it reaches your plate, like, wow, I did that.
Yes.
For me, I get amazed every day. I'm not gonna lie to you.
It makes you feel very good.
Makes me feel very, very good.
Yeah. Let me raise this controversial subject of GMOs, genetically modified foods. What I've read is that certain companies, I won't mention names, sell you seed here in Botswana, and the seed is only good enough for one harvest. If you take the product of that seed to try to plant it, it doesn't grow.
Yeah.
The idea is to force you to keep going back. Is this true?
It is
to keep going
true,
back to buy new ones all the time instead of just putting the seed aside like in the old days. Grow it again.
I'd say, everything nowadays is very commercial. So on both sides of the story, from the farmer's perspective, also from the guys who are selling seeds, I think, as much as, GMOs are very bad for you, if you look at the demand, it just keeps on going higher and higher.
Demand for the food.
Yes. So the GMOs are able to come in and basically mitigate that, that demand a little bit. So I would say it's a good and it's a bad thing, but because I do have farmer friends who do that, and you can't knock a hustle, if I'm being honest.
You can't what?
You can't knock a hustle.
And what do you mean?
By that I mean, basically, if they wanted to do GMO crops, they can do it and it's legal. They might as well.
Yeah, but isn't it smaller farmers are saying they're getting impoverished because they are being forced to keep buying for more and more every year?
Yeah.
Whereas in the old days, we knew we could put aside enough seed. In fact, there's a saying in Setswana that never eat tobo le peo le top. So you make sure that there's enough of your products to put aside to go and use in terms of
the
growing
industry. Yeah, when it comes to that one, I'm really undecided about it because in the whole grand scheme of things, the seeds that are there now, whether GMO or not GMO, I think you really just have to pick what you want. Yeah, you just have to pick what you want. If you want to go into that, of course you can't choose seeds from last year, they will expire. So
it shouldn't really.
It shouldn't really.
Expiry means what?
Expire basically means that if you were to plant, if you do plant the seed, because nowadays when you buy seeds, tell you best before. So if you do plant after that and you're expecting 100% germination, don't expect 100% germination.
To be more like 60%, 70%.
More like 60%, 70%, or no germination at all. Yeah.
That doesn't seem right. Are we not supposed to strive to get, sort of pure organic stuff?
Yeah, we are definitely we are supposed, because it's also healthier at the end of the day, and it also does less damage on your soil. Because what comes also with the GMO products is you need to definitely up your artificial fertilizers. So that means you pumping your soil full of all sorts of fertilizers, which is not the best for the soil, because eventually the soil does die. So when that happens, the land is useless. So it would be nice to strive for, more organic things. But hey,
what about the fruits and the vegetables we eat? Are they modified or are they original?
I would say they're original. Here,
most of them
here are original, especially if it's local. We don't have too many big guys within the GMOs. It hasn't yet reached that level in Botswana.
I was told it's certain things like maize.
Yeah, definitely the maize.
I don't know the sorghum, I'm not sure.
Yeah, but maize, definitely. But that's only because, you see, especially when you're doing large scale farming, if you were to use a normal seed, I think you would have problems. Yeah. Because you see, the thing about genetically modifying a seed is you're making it accommodate the conditions. Yeah. When it's not accommodated to the conditions, you're going to spend twice as much money. Yeah. You're going to spend even more on fertilizers and all those things. But if you do have a GMO seed, I think you would do better.
Yeah. You're only 23 years old and you're already a successful farmer.
So
How did you pull it off? A lot of people your age are not even getting anywhere. How did you pull it off? What's the secret ingredient for your success?
I think for me, it's the fact that I'm always willing to learn. For me, I like to learn and ask questions. Don't ever be afraid to ask questions. I think that should be everyone's motto, because 1 minute ago you were clueless, the next minute you know exactly what you need to know. Now the only thing that comes into play is your execution, because at the end of the day I can tell you what to do in farming, but will you do it?
That's the thing.
So yeah, and no shortcuts. No shortcuts, guys. Shortcuts are the enemy of progress.
Is it?
Yes.
Give an example to illustrate your point.
I would say, for example, like within farming, a shortcut would be more or less, let's say, harvesting before the plant is before the crop is ready. So you can do that, but now what happens is you've taken away probably a few more grams that would have been added to that, or even the taste. The taste is really important. So try not to take any shortcuts. And also, I think a better example would be with labor. If you can get more skilled labor, it's going to cost you more, but it's also going to, it's going to affect your operation in the sense that you will have everything running smoothly. So, for example, if you're harvesting spinach and rape, if you just go get someone new, especially when washing them, you don't want to, when you just get your fresh spinach or fresh rape, you don't want to see soil, you don't want to see black marks, you don't want to do all that. Those are amateur mistakes. But when you have guys who know what they're doing, they're going to wash it properly, they're going to make sure they harvest it properly, they cut it at the right point, they're going to make sure everything is in unison, the leaf is the same size, they won't be harvesting baby leaves or something that isn't ready for market just because they're trying to push work and all that. So yeah.
Wow, that's very, very interesting. Climate change, it's talked about all the time. We talk about Millennium Development Goals or whatever development goals is non-stop. How are you affected at all by climate change, and what are your thoughts on it, around it?
Climate change is very real, first and foremost, and it affects my job very much in the sense that just this year alone, we've had more than 3 heat waves.
3 heat waves?
3 heat waves, which is not common for the beginning of the year. So if you did have crops at that time, you'll find out that most of your stuff is wilting faster than it would have. And also we've also had, I would say, more rain this year in the beginning of the year than last year, because we're in Feb now and we're still getting very good rains. So also
that's unusual.
It's unusual. So that water now that is gonna come in, apart from my watering, does really affect. And you will see that if you don't take measures, you will be attacked by pests and diseases very fast. Yeah.
What are the measures to take?
Depending on the crop, there are pesticides you can apply. There's also pest traps that you can get so that you can trap the pests before they reach your crop. And also practicing good and sustainable practices. Yeah.
The ones you've already touched on. Okay. You talked about government support. I don't know whether you want to add more to that in terms of in the context of the mindset change. What would you say? What are farmers telling you? What's the word on the street?
I would say farmers are very happy with the kind of support government's giving them, both on the horticulture side and on the animal production side, because nowadays it's a thing of like the government really tries to put farmers first because they're really trying to push up Botswana. So what happens also, basically what happens is they will give you the information that you need free of charge, so that you can meet your desired outcomes. They will also, if you are in need of, let's say, certain equipment or certain facilities, you can go to your local Ministry of Agriculture, wherever it's located, ask them how they can support you, because they do have very skilled, very trained agriculture officers who will come to your farm at their cost.
Some used to be called agricultural demonstrators.
Yes.
Are they still there?
Yes, they are still very much.
How do you take advantage of those guys?
So basically with those guys, they give you the information you would need to get your desired outcome in terms of your horticulture. So if you're, for example, planting strawberries, so whatever you're going to need for your strawberries, the information is what they provide you with. How you choose to execute is up to you. Yeah. But the information, they will tell you everything you need to know, what you need to get, what's needed, what's required, and how you should go about it.
And they're just a phone call away, or how does it work?
They are just a phone call away, but it would be better if you did go to your local Ministry of Agriculture, because most areas there's the main one here in town, but if you're in, let's say, Ramotswa, Dlokweng, they all have sub departments of the main one, and they have offices there with all the agriculture people needed.
Yeah. Farming is a very, very interesting profession.
Yes.
Is it something you want to do forever? If, for instance, I was going to ask you of your 10, 20-year plan or 30-year plan, what do you see yourself doing?
Farming, definitely, but for me, 10 years, 20 years from now, I'll probably go into the manufacturing of the farming product. So if it's tomatoes, tomato sauce. If it's sunflower, cooking oil. If it's chili, it's powder or the sauce. So definitely the manufacturing and taking the product further. Definitely that's the space I see myself in. Going forward,
So sort of developing the food chain.
Developing the food chain.
And the beneficiation, if you like, along the way. The food
definitely,
chain. Well, that's interesting. In other words, you want to be able to supply your own factory.
Yes.
With the product.
Yes.
And what plans are you undertaking in that direction?
I think first and foremost for me would be to understand how the product is made and how I can scale it, because at the end of the day, when you do go into manufacturing, you need to be able to have the product in abundance, and you don't need to miss in terms of, you can't say there's no tomatoes, I can't have tomato sauce. So you always need to be able. So for me, the first part of the whole thing is understanding the production before you get into the actual manufacturing.
My belief is that you can never have smooth sailing, that there are always challenges and setbacks, some failures. Do you want to talk about some of those? Have you encountered those?
Yeah, I have encountered a lot of challenges and setbacks. I think one of my biggest one will probably be labor.
In what way?
In the sense that finding a good labor force was really challenging. So, and also, telling people what to do and them understanding and doing it to the best of their abilities. So I think labor for me was definitely one of the biggest challenges. Understanding, because when it comes to the consistency of your product, like especially when it comes to packaging and harvesting, you want to really be consistent and develop a system whereby not only the client but also the client's client, so the people who are in the shop will notice, hey, what's going on with your product? Why is it like this? It's not clean, it's not this. So definitely labor was one of my biggest challenges. Another one of my...
You'd hire somebody and they wouldn't last.
No, they wouldn't last at all.
And you'd have to fire them. Or
not usually fire them, they'll just disappear on their own. Especially the guys on the farm.
Yeah.
Because firstly, they don't have phones. They don't have phones. Majority of them don't have phones. So one day you have a guy, the next day you don't. And you can't call him and just ask him, where are you? No. And also, depending on the worker themselves, if you try go into, because usually they'll be in the area because they're from that area. If you try go looking for them, you won't find them. So yeah, that for me was probably the biggest challenge I've had.
How did you overcome it?
I overcome it by basically, you need to identify certain individuals who are willing to work and have the potential to learn. Because sometimes also my age, trying to instruct older people what to do can be very
23-year-old telling us 50-year-old
how to behave. It can be very challenging. So you just have to understand guys who are more, you have to really keep your eye open for guys who are willing to learn. So those ones who are willing to learn, you need to, of course, now spend more time with them and basically make them trust you. Because once they do trust you, they are able to do the work. And also once they trust you, you're able to trust them also, that in the event that I'm not there, I know at any point, if anyone wants to go to the shop and say this product is from this farm, I know I can say, no, my guys are on top of it.
Would you also find any challenges in regard to, I won't mention a country, but people outside the country be more willing to work than those who are inside the country? Because I have a small farm myself, and we've had some of these situations.
Yeah, I mean that one is definitely gonna be there. I won't lie to you, just across the border, those guys are very big on farming. They love it. That's their bread and butter. So for them it comes more natural, and they do understand it more. And it's the only problem now is papers. They can't get any papers. Most of them are illegal, but they do very good work. And if you are able to get anyone with papers, do so. And then bring him in. Get also the local guys so that he can train them.
I wish you had brought some of your products. Currently, we go to the farm. What are we going to find?
Currently in the farm, I started my new season for the new year. So right now, you're going to find seedlings. Seedlings. My
Only?
seedlings, yes.
No product?
No product. But I am supplying fresh pork. Either carcass, or I can cut it up for you into the braai pieces that you like. And yeah.
You're using what? Do you have a special?
No. Everything is, I work with butchery. I supply them, and when anyone wants to come to my farm, if you wanted a pig, you can come buy from me. I'll take it to his place. He'll charge you for all that, but it's all included in the bill, and he'll cut it up for you nicely.
For the skeptics out there, would you say that this is a lucrative profession? Is there zaga to be made?
Yes, but with time. Definitely with time.
Serious zaga, or just
very serious zaga.
Tell me more. My eyes are popping out.
I mean, when it comes to farming, you just have to find your niche. So some guys are in grain. So when you have your grain guys, that means your guys in maize, sorghum, all those outdoor crops. And then you have also now your fresh vegetable guys, and you also have your guys who are doing herbs. So you just need to find what you're willing to work for and go for it.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Another question that I think I should let you go without answering is, how do you handle lean periods?
Lean periods.
Because inevitably in farming it's seasonal. How do you deal with the seasons when there's not much?
I have an integrated farm, so to say. So when I'm not supplying my fresh vegetables, I can rely on my animals, which I do supply. And when I'm not relying on my vegetables. I could, for example, sell water. That's also another. I haven't gone into it much, but I can. But
From the borehole.
From the borehole, yeah, borehole water.
There's demand in the neighborhood.
Yeah, there's demand in the neighborhood. Very big demand up there where I'm from.
So
So those are some of the avenues I do take to mitigate my lean
in other
periods.
words, you always find a way.
I always find a way. I have to find a way. Not I
Yeah.
always find a way. I
Yeah.
have to find a way.
Okay.
Yeah. Because if I
Alright.
don't, that means salaries are not paid, utilities are not done, and yeah.
Yeah. This is where you get to touch on the issue of no, you're going to talk about it. I'm giving you a chance to talk wisdom and grit as we conclude directly to the. But before you do, here's a chance for you to ask me a question.
Chance for me to ask you a question. Okay.
If you have one.
I do have one.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about how I can structure it.
Yeah.
How do you go about managing your relationships with your clients? Especially seeing that you have such a big team and you don't do everything yourself.
Yeah.
So how do you go about trusting your people to make sure that the right thing is done?
You have to let go.
Yeah.
And you have to realize that your position is not to manage as much as it is to manage managers.
Okay.
So once you realize that your job is to try and rely on reports from others, see whether they are delivering, and then you can basically monitor performance based on the type of complaints that you get. So we would have weekly meetings of the managers themselves, and then we would have them giving me weekly reports. On top of those weekly reports, we'd have once monthly general meetings, and then normally the numbers will speak for themselves. Number of people complaining, you see, there's a problem. The number of vacancies we have is a problem. The lack of activity on the maintenance side, you know that there's a problem. So there are systems in place for you to pick whether there's a problem or not. And then, of course, the collections department, they're able to constantly update you as to whether or not tenants are paying on the tenancy side. But in terms of the other businesses we have, which is speakership and authorship, and then, of course, podcasting, there is direct interaction with the consumer, so to speak. So there's fresh feedback which you get via the posts, via the communication there. So you try to pay attention to that. What are people saying about your content? How are people responding to your offering? And that can normally give you a clue as to how to monitor and deal with it. So other businesses, like with restaurants, you get instant feedback.
True.
If the service is poor, you'll be told. And then, of course, it's up to the manager to deal with it. The same thing with hospitality. People will not hesitate if they stay in your lodge and they're not happy. So you get that instant feedback and you try to pay attention to it. And then you delegate as much as possible to others so that you keep them busy and they report to you.
Okay.
So it's a work in progress. I've read so many management books and I found out that the very thing that they say you must do in one book is the very thing that you say you must not do in the next book.
Yes.
So it's better then to read, yes, for purpose of acquiring wisdom, but then evaluate and trust your gut.
Okay.
Then we also have, speaking of evaluation methodologies where once every 6 months we sit down with the employee, actually it's 4 to 6 months, to see how they are performing. And then we have the evaluation form. We allocate a number for things like creativity, for things like emotional intelligence, for various things. It's in terms of a person's performance, the level of complaints, how do you deal with difficult situations. So that enables you to monitor every now and then. But the best thing is always to get out of the way and let your people perform as much as possible, while keeping an eye every now and then to see whether the metrics and the targets you've set for yourselves are being met. So that's how it works.
Oh, okay. So basically, you've developed your own recipe then.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And every entrepreneur must do that.
Okay.
Every entrepreneur must find a way that works for them.
For them.
And it's always a work in progress, because you should be able to iterate and repackage and divert and change. And then we also have training. We try to make sure that we have trainings in terms of people coming outside within the HRDC framework to train and to improve the skills that people have.
Okay.
So it's constant. Yesterday was Valentine's Day. Yeah. Another way is to share a few sweets or a few gifts with employees and take a few pictures. And
boost morale.
And to try and boost morale.
Yeah.
So it's never one thing. It's a series of multiple things that show that you try to be engaged, but don't overwhelm yourself.
Not true.
Be prepared to delegate, but don't overwhelm yourself. So that's it. But I speak more about it in the book.
In the book.
So maybe since you are buying the book now,
yes, I am.
You will you'll be able to understand it better.
No problem.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I'll be able to get a few techniques and a few ways from your book, and then I'll impart them also on my side.
I pray so. I hope so.
Yes.
Yeah. Now this is the time when you now share your wisdom and grit ideas around grit to leave the viewer with motivation. And something uplifting.
All right.
I've narrowed it down to grit and wisdom. Share those two.
Okay.
As far as your is concerned.
As far as I'm concerned, when it comes to grit and wisdom, I think the most important part is understanding yourself and understanding what you want to do and your desired outcomes, and putting a plan in place to reach those desired outcomes, and also keeping the right company also, and just falling in love with what you're doing, making it your passion, and you'll see eventually everything else follows after that. Because once you've put everything in place in terms of what you love, how you want to go about it, and how you're going to do it, everything else should just follow you. And also, when it comes to being young, be young, try as much things as you can in terms of the industries, the fields. There's an ample option of whatever you want to do, and don't box yourself into one thing. Today you might like this, tomorrow you might like that. It's okay. Just put a plan in place, follow it through, and you should see results. If you don't, go back to your plan, see where you went wrong, and everything should make sense to you after that.
Thank you for those nuggets of wisdom and those nuggets of grit.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate them. That's
All
the
right.
reason we have this show.
All right.
That's the reason we're here. Thank you so much for sharing with us. But leave them with contact details. Where do they find the farm if they want to buy there? How do they get in touch with us? Social media, links, everything. Can you share all that?
All right. Should I just say my number and my email?
No, just go ahead.
Okay.
It's available.
My email is isaackasonde1@gmail.com. My number is +267 7758 1978. And if you want to find my farm, give me a call. I'll be more than willing to take you there myself. And have a great day.
Social media?
Social media, I don't have any social media.
I think, piece of advice, young man, listen to me carefully.
Yes, sir.
You need to set up a Facebook page. You need to just start posting what you're doing on the farm. You see your sales. Initially they'll double, then they triple, then they quadruple, and then you'll see.
Yes.
Just from interacting. On social media.
All right.
And people knowing there's such and such a farm.
No problem.
But then, of course, you have to be able to deliver.
Yes.
I don't know whether you're looking for more customers or you're overwhelmed already.
No.
I don't know.
I'm always willing to take on new customers.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you only have 3 hectares. I think you should use more.
No, I am going to use more. But with more comes more money.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's one thing I'm just trying to sort out now and then. But eventually, with time, everything will fall.
But there's a bank manager watching you now.
Yeah.
What do you want to say to him? Do you have a business plan? Do you need funding? How are you going to pay the money back? As long as
If
you
they-
have that plan, they will give it to you.
Yeah. So if there's any people out there who want to come and be an investor in my projects, please just go to the contacts that I said before, and I'll be more than willing to assist you with whatever you need.
We have an organization called Angel Network Botswana, which
Yes.
funds startups. We haven't funded a farmer yet,
Mm-hmm.
so it's something also to consider. I do not know whether you'd be interested, but if you are, we have a LinkedIn presence, a
Okay.
Facebook presence, which can help guide you.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I'll be more than sure to check
All right.
that out.
Thank you. You're
Thank
a great guest.
All right. Thank you.
Much appreciated.
Yes.
Mm.